Let Century Management Solutions get you to your next medical appointment. They specialize in non-emergency medical transportation, connecting patients to care, safety, reliability, and on time. Their advanced technology platform seamlessly coordinates patients, healthcare providers, insurers, and transportation partners all in one powerful network. With over 200 trusted transportation providers, they deliver scalable solutions backed by real-time tracking and complete transparency. Go to SENTRYMS.com. The More Money Show with Steve Moore on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Hello, folks. Hope you're having a wonderful Easter weekend. I hope you'll have a happy and holy Easter. My next guest is E.J. Antoni, who is a colleague of mine. He is the chief economist at the Heritage Foundation in Washington, D.C. He is an expert on monetary policy, on fiscal policy, on all things economics. So, E.J., thanks so much for joining, and happy Easter.
Oh, Steve, happy Easter to you, too, and thanks for having me.
So a lot I want to cover with you, EJ, today. Let's just start with the jobs report. It was a good report, obviously, especially the payroll survey. There's two surveys, as you know, and one of them had a very good number, the other one not so good. What do you make right now of the situation with jobs in America? Given the fact that we have $100 a barrel oil, obviously that's like a tax on the U.S. economy. What's your outlook?
Steve, great question. In the same way that I thought the previous jobs report was not quite as bad as the headline appeared, I think this one is not quite as good as the headline appeared.
Right.
That's not, it's not to say it was terrible or anything like that, but just like the previous one, it's a mixed bag. And you mentioned the two different surveys. Yes, we did have a real nice number in terms of the establishment survey, the survey of businesses, adding a lot of jobs. But when we look at the survey of households, we saw that fewer people were employed, particularly native-born Americans actually went down year over year, which is not something we want to see. So, again, mixed bag overall. Now, to your point on these high energy prices functioning like a tax, that's exactly right. I think you really hit the nail on the head with that framing, Steve. And so when you have this kind of doubling of energy prices, you got to think of that as a sharp increase in taxation, and that means slower growth and slower job creation as well in the year ahead.
And that means, of course, if we can get that gas price back down to remember before this, the gas price was as low as it had been in 40 years, then we would see a resumption of growth. Do you agree?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I think that's spot on, Steve. And so that's why it's so imperative that they get this conflict with Iran wrapped up as soon as possible, that the Strait is reopened as soon as possible, get that oil flowing again, and not just oil, but fertilizer too. I don't think people realize how much of a fertilizer crisis we have right now, Steve, because with oil, you see that immediately when you go to the pump to fill up. But with fertilizer, I mean, that's affecting food prices 3, 4, 5 months from now. So you don't feel it yet. You don't feel it yet, but the fertilizer crisis is very real.
And I didn't realize until a few weeks ago when the fertilizer people, got in touch with me I didn't realize that a lot of our fertilizer does come through the Strait of Hormuz. And so it's been disrupted. And as you said, you can't grow crops without fertilizer, right? You don't have to be a genius to understand that. I wanted to ask you a question about, what you were mentioning, the decline in the labor force. And this is something that is worrisome to me, EJ, because you can't have growth. You need, as you know, you need two things for growth. You need more productivity and you need more workers. And so we are, and I have to say I'm a little bit flummoxed by this myself. Part of the decline in the labor force that we're seeing is just demographic. I just turned 66. I'm a baby boomer. Baby boomers are retiring at the pace of about 11,000 per day on average, whereas only about 8,000 young Americans are joining the workforce. So some of this is just an adjustment because the baby boomers are retiring. But how do you see it? I mean, how do we grow if we don't have enough workers?
Well, you really can't, Steve. It's such a great point. The most valuable piece of capital in any economy is human capital.
Right, of course.
And so when we've had the kinds of changes we've seen with immigration policy, you've reduced the incoming workers that way. And I'm not just talking about illegal immigration. I'm even talking about legal immigration. You're reducing it that way. You're reducing it via the demographic change that you're talking about, and the fact that just too many young people today, sadly, are not having kids. And there's a whole host of different reasons for that, but that's still the reality of the situation, so we need to talk about it. And when we look at the unemployment rate in this last report, Steve, yes, it's good to see the unemployment rate going down, provided it's because people are moving out of unemployment and moving into employment. Unfortunately, though, that's actually not what happened. The number of people employed fell. It was just that so many people left the labor force that they were no longer counted as unemployed, right? And so it's not just a matter of changing the top of the fraction, but you can also change the bottom of the fraction to change the overall figure there as well. And that's what's going on here.
Let me tell you about ProHealthConnect.com. It's transforming healthcare payments, providing retailers a seamless process for over-the-counter and healthy benefit programs. By connecting retailers, health plans, and payment processors, ProHealth Connect creates one powerful, unified network. They empower independent grocers and pharmacies to accept health benefit cards without changing how they do business. With over 10,000 locations nationwide, helping more than 1.3 million people access the care and nutrition they need. Go to ProHealthConnect.com.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And then you mentioned something important, which is legal immigration. I'm of the view, given the fact that, by the way, this phenomenon that EJ and Antoni and I are talking about of a declining number of births in the U.S., this is happening all over the Western world. Virtually every country, Japan, Korea, the Europeans, Canada, are seeing the same thing. And so we have a birth dearth in the world. The only region in the world where births are actually still high is in Africa. And so we do have an advantage, though, because we can import immigrants from the rest of the world in a way that most other countries cannot do. I think, and by the way, I'm talking about legal immigration here, folks. People who come in illegally with a visa. I think we need them.
Yeah, Steve, and the evidence bears that out. If you look at, for example, we have a lot of specialty jobs in a modern economy, right? Everything has become incredibly specialized. The idea that you can just become a doctor and be a general practitioner, that's increasingly going by the wayside and look, it's not even just a matter of I'm going to specialize and be a cardiologist. What kind of cardiologist, right?
Right.
There's even pediatric cardiology today. It's amazing. And as everything, not just medicine, as everything becomes increasingly specialized, you're going to need a lot more specialists. And that's why when we talk about bringing the best and the brightest people into this economy, you really do need a whole host of different skill sets.
Now, a couple things related to that, EJ. I'm talking to EJ Antoni, who's the chief economist at the Heritage Foundation, also works with me at Unleash Prosperity. Couple of points on this. Number one, we are entering a robotics age. I'm on the board of a company called Lightspeed. I know a lot of our listeners know about this because I talk about it a lot. And Lightspeed we build houses with robots. And so that is going to lower the price of housing considerably, but it may put a dent in the construction industry. So my point is robots will be doing a lot of the work that human beings do now. How does that play into all of this?
Well, at the end of the day, it's going to basically eliminate some jobs but create others. This is exactly what happened when things like the diesel engine became miniaturized at the time into what today we consider a normal size engine, and you could put it into a tractor. And that meant that you no longer needed this big hulking steam tractor that was very inefficient and was very thirsty in terms of not only water but fuel, and you had a smaller, more compact, more efficient product. And all of a sudden, what happened to farmers? Now you didn't need anywhere near as many farmers to farm the same amount of land. So it reduced the number of farming jobs while simultaneously increasing the amount of food available.
Yes.
And people who were previously farming actually were able to go get jobs doing other things, including doing things like driving a taxi, which was a much less backbreaking work than being a farmer. So again, it's going to eliminate some jobs, absolutely. But people have to remember, whenever we have these technological advancements, it always creates more jobs than it eliminates.
Yeah, I always tell the story that, a little over 100 years ago, about 25 out of 30, 100 out of every 100 Americans were working in agriculture, and now about 2 out of 100 do. And we produce more food than ever before. One last question for you, EJ, and I don't know exactly if this is in your strike zone, but I'm getting a lot of calls about it, and I wonder what your sense is about this. There is a kind of war against data centers. And data, as you know, one of the biggest data centers in the world is right out in by Dulles Airport in Northern Virginia. Why are people so afraid of data centers?
Steve, I think it's because they are blaming them for what happened, something actually that happened under Biden, this green energy revolution. Really, it was a de-evolution. What happened was Biden pushed for all of this green energy. His Department of Energy was particularly responsible. So we brought all of this new capacity onto the grid that was wind and solar, which is a much more expensive way of generating electricity. Yep. And it's less reliable. So people's electric bills have been going up as a result of the power generation getting. They also imposed natural gas via the Inflation Reduction Act. So even the reliable energy that you have on the grid became more expensive to operate. So again, people's bills went up. Then they look around at these data centers getting put up that are obviously using electricity, and they're blaming them as an increase in demand when the real problem is that supply is not keeping up. But I will say that the data centers that are out by Dulles that you mentioned, Steve, they are paying so much in taxes. That it is actually resulting in a slower growth of property taxes for residents in that area. So while their electric bills have gone up because of things like wind and solar, ironically the data centers are helping to keep their property taxes down.
Yeah, well, a couple points about that. One is our friends at the Institute of Energy Research just put out a study showing that if you have wind and solar mandates, your electric bills are almost double what they are if you don't mandate wind and solar, because wind and solar don't work very well in terms of producing reliable electricity. And, I just find it interesting that people don't like data centers. When people tell me that, I say, well, do you like your cell phone? Oh, yeah, I like my cell phone. Well, guess what? If you don't have a data center, you don't have a cell phone. I mean, people are going to be angry when the cell system goes out and so on.
Well, Steve, 100%. These are things that we need to make the modern world function. Right. Whether it's your cell phone, whether it's AI, which by the way is such a phenomenal tool, and I really hope more people start to use it. I use it all the time. It helps make me more productive. This is what the modern age requires.
There you go. Hey, EJ, thanks so much for joining on a Saturday afternoon. That's EJ Antoni, who's the top economist at Heritage Foundation, a good friend and a good friend of us at Unleash Prosperity. Folks, this is very exciting. My next guest up is going to be the owner and operator of this radio station, John Catsimatidis, who I've twisted his arm to come on and give us a sense of how he thinks things are going on in the world. And so hang on. This will be an exciting segment coming up. This is the More Money Show on WABC.
Thanks for listening to More Money with Steve Moore. You can hear More Money with Steve Moore Saturday afternoons at 1. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder,
what the heck is going on here?
Listen to this podcast now
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Why is the middle class shrinking? Why are people facing an affordability crisis while marginalized individuals called informals grow in numbers? Join me as I travel the world, speaking with people living in invisibility, the leaders working to solve it, and uncovering the hard truths shaping our economy and daily reality.
Download all of Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform.